Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Cars Are. Today I'm attempting to address something many of you have asked to see, what it's like to live with a supercar in Pakistan. And the supercar in question? Well, it would be none other than my 2017 Audi R8 V10.
Headline figures. 800, yes, that's right, 800 horsepower courtesy of a VF engineering supercharger. 0 to 60 in a claimed and tested 2.5 seconds and a top speed of many miles an hour. So without further ado, let's begin by discussing the most frequently asked question I get.
I get this query far too often for my liking, but it's understandable as to why. For those of you who don't know, Pakistan has a 400% import duty tax. What that means is, if a car is worth $100,000 abroad, it's worth around $500,000 here. And that's insane. As far as the R8 is concerned in particular, well, if you go on Audi Pakistan's website, you'll see that this car is listed for 94 million Pakistani rupees, or 575,000 US dollars. Yeah, that's f***ed up.
Well, obviously it's not compared to a family sedan. Partly that's down to the fact that it has 2 seats and that it's mid-engine, which means there's no trunk. But retrospectively, compared to other supercars and even some sports cars, the Audi R8 is actually surprisingly practical. It has this parcel shelf behind the seats for added storage, a decently sized front trunk, and cup holders. Aside from the new McLaren GT, I can't think of many mid-engine supercars that are more practical. And the McLaren GT doesn't have a 5.2 litre V10.
The Audi R8 then is very well known for being a daily drivable supercar, and understandably so. I mean, I'm 6'2" and getting on for well over 200 pounds. Yet I fit in this car comfortably. I have ample headroom, I have more than enough legroom, and it's just a really comfortable package altogether. Driving it, you start to realize just how easy it is to operate. The gear selector is where you'd expect it to be, your indicator controls are not on the steering wheel, unlike Ferrari, and it's just backed with the technologies you'd expect from a car of this era. Bluetooth connectivity, the new Audi digital dashboard, everything looks and feels very good. And your grandmother could really honestly and truly drive this thing without feeling intimidated. It's very comfortable, the steering is very light, the transmission in comfort mode is very subtle. But if your grandmother does even accidentally come close to the throttle pedal, well, then this is gonna happen. So what's it like maintaining a supercar in a country where there aren't too many supercars? Well, surprisingly easy actually. I'd like to say a lot of that is down to my friend Waqas Bhai over at Petrolhead's Garage. He's doing an absolute fantastic job maintaining higher end cars that other people really haven't had experience working with. But I'd also like to give some credit to the Audi R8, because this thing is bulletproof. Audi recommends oil changes every 15,000 kilometers, but I'm a little more safe than that. So I stick to around 3,000 kilometers for oil changes and spark plugs at around every 5,000 kilometers in order to ensure this car is running perfectly. As far as other costs are concerned, well, there really aren't many. Yeah, brakes, tires, the usual maintenance stuff, but because this car is all-wheel drive, it doesn't go through tires, and because the brakes aren't carbon ceramics, they're no more expensive than your average Mercedes. So really, maintenance cost is not something that is far greater than your average daily driver. A cost that is far greater than your average daily driver is fuel.
I'm sure many of you watching this are aware of the subpar fuel quality that we get here in Pakistan. In fact, this footage I'm showing you is of a test I have done on an unnamed leading brand's high octane, which is a claimed 93 octane. Unfortunately, as you can see, the results show otherwise. In order to mitigate the poor octane levels, I run a blend of water racing fuel and pump gas to up the quality. It can run on pump gas without it proving to be an issue, but I'd rather be safe than sorry. As far as the accuracy of the fuel tester itself is concerned, well, I tested the water racing fuel, which is rated at 96 octane, and the device pretty much matches those claims.
Now I'm going to discuss two issues which are a little more in tune with owning a supercar in Pakistan. The first of which is road quality. Now, unfortunately, we do not have the best tarmac here in Pakistan. It's very bumpy, it's peppered with potholes and all sorts of stuff. But I knew I could live with that. What I was far more worried about was the speed breakers. Before purchasing this car, I wasn't sure if it would be able to get over them. Looking at that small hill, you'd think that the R8 with its extended front splitter and extremely low profile would have trouble getting over what is essentially a speed breaker. But surprisingly, it manages perfectly well. Yeah, you have to do a little bit of a crab walk in order to go past, but you're not really limited by this car's ground clearance as to where you can take it. Now, like I said, you're not limited in this car as to where you can take it by its dynamics, by things like its ground clearance. But something that does limit you, unfortunately, is a lot of the unwanted attention you get when you're driving a supercar. You inevitably and oftentimes unwillingly become the center of attention pretty much everywhere you go. I know this sounds entitled, but it's true. I mean, in a country where almost everything on the road has two wheels or a Toyota badge up front, it's really rather interesting for a person to see a supercar. And I get it. I mean, if I'm out on the road and I see a nice car, I tend to go and take pictures of it. The second thing is that unwanted attention will bring you a lot of stress when driving and parking this car, particularly while parking. People try to get close to the car, they try to get a closer look, they try to move in, see, understand the lines, the contours, and again, that makes perfect sense. But there's always that element of fear when you have the car parked outside a restaurant. You're constantly thinking, what if someone just opens the door into it? It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. Secondly, the unwanted attention brings two things. The first of which is questionnaires, and the second of which is really rather disgusting and inappropriate comments. So as far as questions are concerned, don't get me wrong. You could come and talk to me about cars any time of day and I'll be gladly willing to cooperate. But if you come up to me and ask me what I do for a living, as a stranger, I'm not sure I'm totally comfortable unveiling that to you. Secondly, and more importantly, it's the negative comments that you face while driving a supercar. Very often people think you're a poser, a showboater, someone who bought the car to make up for an insecurity and inferiority. But really that isn't the case, because I bought this to enjoy it. I bought this to drive it, to have fun with it. More oftentimes than not, I find myself taking my Hilux out for dinners rather than in this, because I don't want to be the receiver or on the receiving end of these comments. It's unfortunate, but our society works in sometimes very negative ways. But who gives a shit? Especially when you're out on an open road, good weather, you just floor it and you have fun and you forget everything about what everyone is saying. Now, in my opinion, many of the living with a supercar videos leave out the most important part. The reason you buy a supercar. The fun factor. You buy a supercar to add some flair to your life, to make your daily commute that little bit more interesting. And really that's where the difference is made. Because you can daily drive a supercar without a shadow of a doubt. It's not hard to live with. And yeah, you do face some struggles that you would otherwise not. But all of that is made up for when you drive a supercar. Because it's just, every part about it is so much fun. Everything about your day becomes so much more fun. It's incredible how, and I know this is going to sound materialistic, but that's not how I mean it. How driving a nice car can make your day better, especially if you're passionate about cars. There's just something about getting into a dream car on a dream road, like I said earlier, and driving not for anyone else, but for yourself. Wow. So to round it off then, all in all, there are certain pitfalls to owning a supercar. Like, for starters, people judging you, people thinking that you're a show-off, someone who's not easy to approach, easy to talk to, someone who thinks too highly of themselves because of their material possession. That isn't the case. I don't think the cars you drive define who you are. I believe that cars are more deep-rooted than tools used to show off. I believe that they're very, very sentimental, very emotional. And yeah, fine. I mean, people are gonna hate on you for driving a nice car, but really, let's be honest, who gives a shit? Just get in, find a nice piece of road, drive the shit out of it and go home. Enjoy yourself, enjoy your day. And forget what everyone else says. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed my living with the supercar video. I hope it answered many of the questions you had surrounding living with the supercar, especially in Pakistan. And yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing what you guys would like to see next. Like the video, comment down below, and subscribe for more content. Thank you so much. Cars are out.